What's up, guy? So in this one I'm gonna do a little video on a few ways you can improve your mix. I'm no professional mixing engineer or anything like that, but I don't get my tracks mixed down. I do them all myself and it works for me and they sound good whenever I hear them being played out. So I'll just show you a few ways, simple ways that you can improve the mix and you can check the mix. And yeah, saves you going to mixing engineers and getting your tracks mixed down, because I know a lot of people when they start making music, a few people have actually reached out to me asking me to do their mix downs, and it can cost a lot of money as well. Like, I know some people pay €300 or €400 per track, so it's not very feasible for everyone, especially if you're making tunes every week. It's going to cost a lot of money to get the mix down, and I think it's good to know how to do it yourself, because you can tweak it as you go and you can go back. The more you do it, the more you get better. But just keep in mind, when you first start out, you're not going to hear everything. You might think it sounds good, but really it sounds shit. So it's just practice. It takes years to train your ears to get good at mixing. I'm still learning till this day. Like, every time I go back and check a mix in a different sound system, or I make a tweak, I always hear things. But right, so I'll start now. I have a few things written down here, so I'll just go through them bit by bit. So your kick and bass is always very important, and I picked this track because it took me a long time to tweak in the kick and the bass to get it sounding right. And it's probably still not the best kick and bass relationship I've had in all my tracks, but I picked this one because it was a bit of a challenge for me, and any time I changed the sounds, it just didn't sound right. So yeah, your kick and bass, keep them in mono always. If you don't know how to keep something in mono, you go to your audio effects and you go to your utility, and this one here, look, I already have it on there, but if you click mono, then that puts it in mono. So like, mono means it's just going to be straight down the middle. It's not going to be panning left or right or anything like that. So you want to keep your kick and bass in mono, and you want to, like, I kind of keep everything under 200 hertz, 250 hertz in mono, because you don't want your low end like kind of bouncing side to side. It just doesn't sound right. And sometimes it'll drop out. So if you check your mix in mono and like there's a lot of stuff taking up too much space in the stereo field, you get something called phase cancellation, and then you can't hear some of the sounds. So yeah, one thing I always do, I have this on my master. So this is just, I'll delete that now. This is just my master bus for when I finish the track and I'm sending a demo so a DJ can play it. I always have this EQ, and I always have a mono here. So like, let me just put the volume up and play the track. Something's not right here. The group volume is down. Sorry about that, gang. Yeah, so something I always do is I always check as I'm going along, as I add new elements. I always check the mix in mono, because some club systems are in mono. So like, if you're playing in some venues and they have sound systems around different parts of the building, they're not all, some of them are in mono, and then other things you might use and you might listen to music on are in mono. They're not always in stereo. So it's good to check. Sometimes you notice when you're in a big club and you hear tunes that you've heard many times and you're like, it doesn't sound as good here. It's probably because it's in mono. And when you check, so it kind of still sounds alright. And if it does, if you check it in mono and it doesn't sound right, you can put the utility on a synth and you can like pull away. You can make the width less, or reduce the stereo field a little bit with this, so it's not so wide in the mix. And because think of this, like, it might be all the sounds, like you have a stereo field, imagine it like a circle, and all the sounds are out here, and then you goes into mono and they all get squashed into the middle, and then you lose some of the sounds and some of the character, especially when you have a lot of processing on them. So sometimes if you have a lot of reverb and phasers and stuff, and then you check it in mono and it sounds shit, reduce the width a little bit and it might sound a little bit better. Right, what else do we have? And for your kick and bass, another thing is like I always start. I always have my kick drum around. I think this is -6. Yeah, so I always have my kick drum peaking around -6 dB, and then I have the bass like 3 to 6 dB below that. This one's actually very low underneath, but when I had it up like just 3 to 5 dB below the kick, it was too loud. But I always keep the bass a little bit lower than the kick, so I always start with the kick peaking around -6 dB, and then the bass a little bit lower around here, and then I can kind of build off that just for your levels and stuff. So another good way to test like or to check if something's too loud or not, because it's easy to kind of get caught looking at these faders. If you just close your eyes and bring the volume down and just bring it up slowly, and then when you think it sounds right, just stop it, open your eyes and see where it's at. Then I always put this master. This is another kick and bass trick, because the kick and bass is very, very important. So I would put this on. So I'm pulling this down, but I can still hear the kick and bass separately. So I can hear the kick and I can hear the bass. So I'm kind of, it's a good way to check if they're not like too muddy or there's no like frequencies competing. So I just put it on, just go down. I can still hear them separately. So if you can hear them separately, you're on the right track. If you can't hear them separately and it's very muddy, you can. So you could check where your kick drums peak, and you could get a frequency analyzer. That would be it's really an utility, Spectrum it's called, on Ableton, and you can check where it's peaking, or you can just check here and have a look on your EQ. But if you want to be more specific, look, you can see it's peaking at like, you can see it's peaking around, it was peaking around 53 hertz. So if my bass was peaking around there too, then I'd dip down or some here. I'd cut out some of the frequencies around that in one of them. You'd leave one, or whatever one sounds better. Have a test and check which one. But I wouldn't have the two of them peaking at the same frequency. So this is probably peaking at like, I don't know. I'm after cutting out a lot of this here, so it's not really, it's kind of getting sliced off around there. You can see it dipping down a little bit. You can cut out below 30 hertz, so that's what I always do, because you don't want that mud in your track. So I always cut down to around 30 hertz, because we can't hear that anyway as humans. Only like elephants or something can hear it. So I always cut that out. You can see a lot of mud here that you don't need. Then what else have I got written down here? You can sidechain your kick to your bass. So in this, I have kickstart too. So if you don't have that, you should get this, because it's very cheap. It's like €15 or something. A lot of people use it for sidechain. It's very simple to use. You can just go to mix to fader and just try these and kind of drag it left and right to see where it sounds right for you. I'm not a big expert on compression or anything like that, but I did used to use the compressor in Ableton for my sidechain. So if you have Ableton, oh shit, I'm after deleting that off. Fuck's sake. Oh no, it's on the bass. Redo that. Sorry gang, just redoing all this. I'm doing it up here because I want to see what I changed. Right. What was I saying? Yeah, so if you want to use sidechain with Ableton, you could go into your EQ compressor, have a ghost kick, so you could duplicate your kick channel. I'm not going to do it now. We go sidechain. You'll just have your kick channel run across the whole track, and then pick your ghost kick, and then turn this off. See, it's not doing that now, so pull that down. You can see this little green thing or the little orange thing. You can see it's working now. I don't want to flatten it too much because that's what happens. So look. And I always check it here. See, I want that a little bit more like this. Mess around with the envelope. You want kind of a fast attack. You put the release on auto if you want. It's up to yourself. I kind of like to have it looking like that. See the orange thing hitting, that's when you know it's going to work in the way you want. But now I just use the Nicky Romero one because it's fairly simple to use, and I kind of just use my ears now instead of looking at what's going on the screen. Kind of just listen to it and flick around to get it sounding right. I don't want to squash it too much. I just want them the kick coming through. Then what else have I got here? Yeah, get to know your room and your headphones. So like this room I'm in sounds shit compared to the other rooms I used to work in. So I use headphones a lot. I know what these sound like, but like I know what my monitors sound like, but when I change room they don't sound the same. Like when I was living in Dublin, the studio I had carpet and stuff in it, so it soaked up a lot of sound. It sounded much better, but this room's absolutely poxy, so I kind of got bounced between the monitors and the headphones, but kind of get to know what you're using. That's very important because you can be mixing your room more than the track sometimes and you don't even notice. What else have I got here? Yeah, an easy mistake to make as well is when you're cutting out, because I always recommend people to cut out like below 100 hertz on your on nearly every sound except your kick and the bass, because you don't want a lot of stuff gathering up around this frequency range here, and then it gets in the way, and then your kick and bass sound shit. There's a lot of stuff you can't even hear, especially when you're in your studio. You don't have a sub or anything, so all this stuff gathers up. Even like I've probably cut out everything on all these sounds, but look, I'll show you now. When I do my processing and I put on an EQ, I bet you there'll be stuff around here. Look. So I always put an EQ on my drum bus or group, it's called an Ableton, and I just cut out down to about 100 hertz. Usually I've cut this out anyway, but then when you add your saturators or whatever, your compression, your reverb, whatever you put on your bus, you can get a little bit more gathering up, like you can see here, look. We can't even hear it now, but in a club you probably would. But you have to be careful not to cut out. Like one thing I used to do, I got real obsessed with that kick and bass thing, and I used to be cutting out like too much frequencies out of some sounds, and you lose a lot of character. So don't cut out too much, especially like your snares and stuff and your 909, especially your 909 sounds. If you cut out too much, if you remove too many frequencies, you lose a lot of character and the drums don't slap as much. So just keep that in mind. But I always cut out below 100 hertz, 100%. Then I do the same on my synth bus. None of the synths really work doing much on there here, so I just cut out this amount. So you know, keep cutting. I'll show you on the synths now. Yeah, and then you don't be careful. You don't have your synths clashing too much with your other sounds. Like sometimes you need, when you're on a bass, you need some mid frequencies to make it cut through a little bit more. Sounds more prominent in the mix. But just depends on what other sounds you're using. So there's no right or wrong way for every track. Like sometimes I have my bass EQ'd like this, literally, or sometimes I have it like this. It just depends on what works well. You just have to kind of use your ears and see what's clashing. What else have I got here? Competing frequencies, the groups. Yeah, your stereo field, you can pan stuff as well. Like I don't do it too much, but you can do it. So I think I've done it on this track. I have two like me drums. Yeah, here look, I have these. I'll solo them. So this is the drums. I have this. Just 5 left and 5 right. Because the stereo field, you have a lot of room. You don't want to go too wide, but you have a lot of room for other sounds. So if you have everything just going straight, stuff's gonna get in the way. Especially like you have all your synths, your drums, and stuff like that. So if you have some sounds, just pan them out a little bit, give them a little bit more space, and that should help. And then groups, yeah, I always push. I always like just put like a bit of saturation and stuff on my groups. I think I made a video on that, so you can go through my previous videos. You can see I made a video on groups and how you can easy ways you can make your drum sound a little bit more fatter, a little bit full. Yeah, there's just a few easy ways you can make your mix better. As I said, I'm not a professional mixing engineer or anything like that, but it works, and people play me music, DJs sign me music, labels and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully you learned something from this video. Let me know what you want to see in the comments in the future. If you want to see more technical stuff like this, or more track breakdowns, or whatever. And again, as always, the description has the link for Spaced Out if you want to get the samples or the free pack. So we'll leave it there, gang. Peace out.